She stood up at my own birthday dinner, clinked her glass, and declared loud enough for the whole room to hear. New rules, Ryan. From now on, you answer to me. Everyone laughed like I was some helpless schoolboy. They had no idea that 5 minutes later, I'd flipped their perfect little circle upside down. And not with yelling, not with drama, but with something colder, cleaner. Truth. Before we start, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments what you would have done. Now, let me take you back to the night everything snapped. I came home on a Thursday evening, my 43rd birthday. I wasn't expecting much. Maybe a quiet dinner, a beer, a slice of boxed cake. Instead, I opened the door and felt the tension before I even saw the faces. The living room was packed. 7 or 8 women I vaguely recognized from my wife's Pilates studio and her women's empowerment circle. Wine glasses everywhere, perfume hanging thick in the air, smiles shaped more like weapons than greetings, my wife. Lena stood there in an overpriced dress I'd spotted on our credit card bill last month. She spread her arms like she was unveiling a Broadway show. Surprise, honey, she said, but her voice wasn't warm. It had that sharp, performative tone she used when her friends were watching. We're having a special birthday gathering. I nodded, hung my keys, grabbed a cold beer from the fridge. Corona, not my first pick, but tonight wasn't about small preferences. When I stepped back into the room, the women all looked at me like I'd interrupted something important. So, Lena said, raising her voice, I've been thinking a lot about our marriage. And tonight, with my closest friends here to support me, I want to set some new rules. A couple of them clapped already, like trained seals. I didn't say a word, didn't ask what she was doing. I just took a long drink and waited. Rule 1, she announced, reading from her phone like it was a proclamation. You start asking permission before making plans with your buddies. I should know where you are and who you're with. One of the women breathed. Yes, boundaries. Rule 2, Lena continued. You need to step up around the house. I shouldn't have to remind you to clean. You should just know. A ripple of approving nods. One woman even raised her glass like Lena had delivered a sermon. And Rule 3, Lena said, pausing dramatically, you need to contribute more financially. I'm tired of feeling like I'm carrying this household. That's when I set my beer down. Carrying the household? Her part-time boutique job barely covered her weekly nail appointments. Meanwhile, I worked 50 hours a week hauling pallets at a distribution center. But I didn't interrupt. I didn't defend myself. I let her finish. Let the applause swell. Let the smirks grow. Because while they were celebrating my supposed humiliation, I was thinking about the folder in my office drawer. The folder I'd been quietly building for months. When their clapping finally died down, Lena planted her hands on her hips. So, Ryan, she said, loud enough for maximum drama. Think you can handle these expectations? I took another slow drink. Set the bottle down gently. Then I smiled. A calm, level smile I don't think she'd ever seen from me. I think, I said, that I have an announcement of my own. The room went dead still. Lena blinked. What are you talking about? I stood up. Give me 5 minutes. I need to grab something. I walked down the hallway. I didn't rush. Didn't raise my voice. Behind me, I heard whispers, confused, uneasy. The kind of whispering people do when they suddenly feel they might not be on the safe side of a story. I in my office. I opened the file cabinet. Third drawer. The folder was right where I'd left it. Everything inside was organized. Bank statements, credit card transactions, screenshots, dates, receipts. I had spent nights sorting it all quietly while Lena was out on her suspicious networking lunches. I held the folder for a moment. Heavy, not in weight, but in certainty. When I returned to the living room, I set the folder on the table beside the half-empty wine glasses. I sat calmly on the couch, looked directly at Lena, and said, all right, since we're talking about equality and contribution, I think it's only fair everyone here hears the full picture. Every woman at that table froze, and that's where the real evening began. I opened the folder slowly, letting the air thicken around us. The room that had been buzzing with smug laughter minutes earlier now felt like a courtroom where the sentence was already written. "Let's start simple," I said, pulling out the first bank statement. I held it up like a teacher calling roll. September. My paycheck, $2,100 after taxes. Lena's, $740. I laid the paper down, highlighting the numbers with a tap of my finger. Rent, $1,300. Paid by me. Utilities, $200. Me again. Car insurance, me. Groceries, also me. Dinners, mostly cooked by me. Harper, who had been the loudest cheerleader for Lena's new rules, sank back in her chair like her spine had vanished. Lena's face went paper white. "Ryan, stop. This is private. You made it public," I answered without raising my voice. "Right here, tonight, in front of your support group." A few women swallowed hard. No one spoke. I pulled out the October statement. "Now this one's interesting. My income, same as always. And here," I tapped the paper. $470 at Nordstrom. $320 at that downtown boutique. $215 at the spa. All on the credit card that I pay off. Lena's closest friend, Phoebe, I think, looked at her with pure confusion. "You told us Ryan didn't let you buy anything." I almost smiled. "Funny how stories change, isn't it?" Lena's voice cracked. "Those were necessities." I tilted my head. "A $200 dress you wore tonight? For a birthday dinner you planned at home?" No one defended her this time. "Now," I continued, pulling out my phone, "let's talk about these networking lunches that started 4 months ago." Lena's breath stuttered. Her hands curled into the sides of her dress. I held up a screenshot. Text messages. A name at the top. Drew Callahan. A couple of the women exchanged glances. Someone whispered, "Who's Drew?" "An old coworker," I said. "Very friendly coworker, apparently." "Here." I zoomed in. "Can't wait to see you Thursday. Same place. Missed you yesterday." I flipped to another. "He doesn't understand me. Sometimes I wonder why I even married him. Drew gets me in a way he never could." A couple gasped softly. One woman put her hand over her mouth. "It's not what you think." Lena cried. "We never did anything. We just talked." "Over $85 lunches I paid for," I added calmly. "Over drinks I paid for. Over hours you hid from me." Lena's face crumpled. She pressed her hand to her forehead, like she could block the truth from hitting her. I kept going. "And while you were painting me as some controlling monster to your friends, none of you," I looked around the room, "knew that I paid 80% of our bills. None of you knew that Lena rejected full-time job offers because the hours weren't convenient. None of you knew that she's been meeting just a friend for months." Harper shifted uncomfortably. "Lena, you told us he wouldn't let you work more." Lena didn't answer. She just stared at the floor like the boards might swallow her. I pulled out one last sheet from the folder. A consultation summary from the divorce attorney. Quiet. Clinical. Final. "This," I said, "is the part one wanted to share tonight." Lena shot to her feet. "What is that?" "My new rule," I said. "You wanted structure? Here it is. There won't be a marriage." For a moment, no one breathed. Then the reactions hit at once. Gasping, whispering, chairs scraping back. A couple women grabbed their coats so fast they nearly tripped. Harper muttered, "Oh my God," and practically bolted for the door. Phoebe didn't even look at Lena as she fled. "I'll be filing Friday morning," I said, standing. "Papers will be served Monday. This apartment is in my name. Inheritance money from my uncle covered the down payment. You have 30 days to find a new place." The last woman at the table shook her head, speechless. Then she turned to Lena and said, "You lied to all of us," before walking out. Within minutes, every seat was empty, except mine and Lena's. She collapsed back into her chair, mascara streaking down her cheeks, surrounded by empty glasses and the ruins of her own performance. "You humiliated me," she whispered. "No," I said quietly. "You did that yourself. I just turned on the lights." I walked to the guest bedroom. the one I'd quietly prepared all week. My clothes were already hanging in the closet, my toothbrush already in the bathroom. Lena didn't know I'd been drifting away for months, packing my dignity piece by piece that I closed the door. Her crying trickled through the wall like distant rain. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel dread or anger, that I felt stillness, that a quiet that felt like the beginning of something new. The next morning, my phone was blowing up, missed calls, long texts, voice messages from Lena that swung wildly between apologies, accusations, guilt trips, and pleas. I didn't open a single one. I brewed coffee, tied my boots, and headed to the warehouse like it was any normal Friday. My mind was clearer than it had been in years. Around noon, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I let it ring. When it rang a second time, I answered. "Is this the tenant for the Brooks Avenue apartment?" A woman asked. "Depends who's calling." "This is Paige from Maple Ridge Property Management. Your wife called this morning asking about breaking the lease early. I need to confirm if you're both planning to vacate." I actually laughed. "No, I'm not going anywhere. And the lease is in my name only. She can't break anything." Silence. Then a small, stunned, "Oh, she said it was joint." "She says a lot of things," I replied. "Check the paperwork." By the time I got home that evening, Lena was waiting on the couch surrounded by tissues, pale and shaky like she'd been rehearsing a speech on repeat. "We need to talk," she said. "No," I replied. "You need to talk. I'll give you 3 minutes." She looked like she was trying to hold herself together with sheer willpower. I called a marriage counselor. Her name is Dr. Sheffield. She can see us next week. "I'm not going," I said, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge. "You're not even willing to try?" she begged. "After 7 years?" I stared at her. "You know what I did for 7 years? Worked 50 hours a week while you figured out your career path. Supported every part-time experiment you tried. Paid the bills. Cooked. Shopped. Covered everything while you took flexible shifts and called yourself exhausted. And what did I get in return? Silent treatments. Lies. And a performance at my own birthday party." "That's not fair," she whispered. "What's not fair?" I asked. "That I confronted you with your own words? Your own receipts." She started crying again, but the tears didn't move me. I'd spent too long caring about tears that always came at convenient moments. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Quinn, one of the women who'd sat at the table 2 nights earlier. "I know it's strange, but I'd like to talk. What happened has been weighing on me." I held up the message so Lena could see. Her face flushed dark red. "Don't talk to her," she snapped. "She's my friend." "Not anymore," I said. "You torched that bridge on your own." She began pacing. "This is insane. You're ruining our entire life over a misunderstanding." "This wasn't a misunderstanding," I said. "This was years of disrespect finally landing." She froze. And for once, she had nothing to say. The next morning, I met with Harper and Quinn at Corner Brew. They were nervous, almost embarrassed. Harper opened a folder of printed screenshots. "We went through old messages," she said. "Everything Lena told us, she twisted it, changed the context, made it sound like you were controlling, selfish, angry." Quinn nodded. "We were reacting to patterns we'd seen in our own pasts. We thought we were protecting a friend, but she wasn't telling us the truth." They showed me messages where Lena claimed I refused to take her out for her last birthday, leaving out the part where I'd worked a double shift and made up for it all weekend. They showed threads where she painted me as some miser who wouldn't buy a couch, leaving out the fact that we needed new tires. It was like watching a documentary about my own life, narrated by someone who didn't know me at all. Then Quinn asked the question that hung in the air like smoke. "Do you think she and Drew ever crossed the line?" I took a breath. "Maybe they didn't," I said. "Maybe they did. But it doesn't matter. She was meeting him behind my back, lying about where she was, spending my money on him. That's enough." They both nodded, quietly furious, not at me, but at the woman they thought they knew. To be why the time I left the cafe, I felt lighter. Clarity has a weight of its own, like truth straightening your spine. That afternoon, My attorney confirmed everything. The apartment was mine alone, purchased with inheritance money, legally separate property. Lena had no claim, no leverage, no angle to play. Her lawyer called me the next week, trying to negotiate. I shut every one of his offers down until he came back with the only one I would accept, $0. And she could take only what she personally bought. By the time she moved out, the apartment looked half empty, but it felt more mine than it ever had. I sat on the floor with a slice of pizza, stared at the open space, and felt something I hadn't felt in a decade. Peace. 6 months passed. The divorce finalized cleanly. I'd replaced nearly every piece of furniture, painted the walls the way I liked, picked up old hobbies, lifting, guitar, weekend hikes. My home finally reflected who I actually was, not who I had to be to keep the peace. That on my 44th birthday, my friends came over with beer and pizza. Real friends. We laughed, watched the game, existed without walking on eggshells. No drama, no manipulation, just life. Later that night, after everyone left, I stepped out onto the balcony and looked over the city lights. Last year, I'd stood in the same spot feeling trapped. Now, I felt freed. A spam call buzzed on my phone. I blocked it, went back inside, sat on my new couch, took a quiet breath. Lena wanted new rules. She ended up giving me a new life, and I wasn't giving that up for anything. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. It helps more people find our channel.